out here on one of the spiral arms. Our solar system is out here, some 26,000 light years from the galactic center, which is kind of significant when you start to think about it. That why would our Earth be 26,000 light years from the galactic center? That's the precessional period. Could that suggest some kind of entrainment of some kind? Some kind of energetic entrainment between the Earth wobble and our distance in light years from the galactic center? That could be. Scientists haven't even noticed that, let alone, explored the implications. Next. Next. This is a little bit how the galaxy looks to me. It's not really a good picture, really. I have to find a better one, because I've been out there at night, especially in Guatemala or South America even, and it's just incredible. Between the constellation of Sagittarius and Scorpio, you can see the dark rift. It's this, the galactic center is this bulging area. It's just amazing. Next. And another way that they symbolize the Milky Way is they saw it as a great cosmic monster or alligator or caiman. So on one of the carvings from Azapa, we see this alligator. And this is what the sky looks like, with the nuclear bulge of the galactic center at the bottom, symbolized by the head of the caiman or alligator. Next. This is another way to think about the galactic alignment process. If you were an astronomer at the site of Azapa, and you would be tracking this convergence in the sky over the December solstice sunrise horizon. So the position that the sun rises on the solstice doesn't shift with precession. It's always going to rise in that one spot. But what's happening over that horizon, you can see the Milky Way arching overhead. And I believe that the early astronomers were tracking this convergence and projecting forward to when the December solstice sun would line up with the birth canal of the Great Mother. So we see already how they were mythologizing this. And it's in the creation myth, too. You have to kind of do a sort of a Joseph Campbell kind of archetypal reading of the various deities and characters in the creation myth. But you can unpack it and peel back the sort of the colloquial references in the myth and see that they were actually seeing this future convergence as an alignment of Cosmic Father, the December solstice sun, and Cosmic Mother, the galactic center. It's kind of like a union of Shiva and Shakti at the end of the cycle. Next. So one way to start thinking about what this galactic alignment really is, there's different ways you can sort of think about it. As I mentioned earlier, all cycles in nature have two halves. There's a period of increase and a period of decrease. And I believe that the galactic alignment indicates that we are approaching the end of the era of increasing spiritual darkness. There's this idea that, the fall of humanity, the disconnect from our true selves, the disconnect from that transcendent higher dimensional wisdom, the unity consciousness. I know some of that sounds really mystical, but this idea that we are connected to the whole and that our institutions and our cultures should be formulated upon this assumption that we and our choices and the decisions we make and the policies we put into effect should be oriented towards the understanding that we are part of a whole. So we have to be in touch with that kind of root consciousness, that whole consciousness, that unity consciousness, in order to create good institutions that are reflecting these truths. Unfortunately, for some reason, human consciousness went through a fall, went through a forgetting. The reason actually is because of the cycles of time. There's a period of forgetting and there's a period of awakening or remembering. So we are approaching the end of the period of forgetting, of increasing spiritual darkness. Of course, what happens alongside that increasing spiritual darkness is increasing materialist proficiency, an increasing ability to manipulate technologies in the material world. So that's why in our modern sort of materialist secular society, we place great value on the technologies that we can create. And certainly there are a lot of incredible things that have happened along those lines. But if you understand sort of the armature of time that's indicated by these galactic alignments, then 2012 stands out as kind of like galactic midnight, you know. But the good news is that when these kinds of alignments happen, we have an opportunity. It's kind of a crack between the worlds. It's the still point. And we can connect into that still point and reconnect with that higher unity consciousness. Next. So just some specifics on the galactic alignment here. It's best to think of it as a window or an era or an alignment zone that stretches from 1980 to 2016. It is an astronomical fact. Sometimes people sort of think of it as just this mystical thing or something like that, but it's the empirical anchor to this Maya cosmology that involves not only the science of the astronomy, but it's integrated with spiritual teachings. Next. Next. Well, that's pretty much what I just said. 2012 really represents, and again, it's kind of, you have to talk about these things, so I find myself even sort of maybe giving the wrong impression. I used to say era 2012, because I think it's important to think about a zone of maximized opportunity. And this just brings up the whole, issue that we shouldn't be projecting forward to one specific date. That's a real problem. That's an assumption, though, that something dramatic is going to happen on that specific date. And, maybe something dramatic will. Maybe people will make something happen on that date. But the point is that we are in a process-oriented shift. And if we become habituated to future projecting, waiting around for some future date, it's like sitting at the bus stop waiting for the bus, not realizing that you are the bus. Oh, okay, really? All right. Okay, buckle your seatbelts. Next. Well, one thing I just want to address with that, I think it's really important, because if you go out into the Google sphere and you type in galactic alignment, sometimes you get this picture, and it's not the galactic alignment. I just want to clarify this. This idea is based upon the fact that our solar system orbits around the center of the galaxy. It's an orbital process with the spiral arms, and the whole thing is kind of churning around, and we're out here. It takes 240 million years for us to orbit once around. And there's this idea that our solar system kind of follows this wave pattern. It kind of moves up through the galactic midplane and then down through the galactic midplane. And I don't know if there's real science behind this, but the problem with it in terms of thinking that this is what 2012 is about, the idea is that our whole solar system is passing physically through the debris or something that's in this galactic midpoint. So there's going to be more asteroids and phenomena, or we're approaching some density area of the galaxy or something like that. Well, the problem with this is that our solar system is actually very high above the midplane right now. And the other problem is that this orbital process is so slow that it takes on the order of 500,000 years to pass through the midplane. So there's a couple problems with this theory, and I even see my own research, when people quote my work or paraphrase my work in other books or that kind of thing, that my own galactic alignment research is often confused with this idea. Next. What I'll do is I'm going to reserve this for tomorrow, or if you have any questions. Apparently we're sort of in a time zone here, but there's a whole range of sort of funny ideas that accrete around the 2012 thing. And I guess I won't bore you with the toxicity of that discussion, but if you want to ask questions about it, we can go into that, or tomorrow at 3. So let's rip through a couple of these slides here. Next. 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 Well, my research really is anchored to, well, okay, next. My research shows how this galactic alignment is encoded into the ball game and the Maya creation mythology. Next. So here's how the ball game symbolizes the galactic alignment. It's very simple to see. The ball going into the goal ring is symbolic of the sun converging with the dark rift in the Milky Way. Next. And in the creation myth, the rebirth of the father of the hero twins, of Hunahpu, at the end of the creation myth, at the end of the world age cycle, you see him emerging from the back of a turtle here, and you can see how symbolically it's similar to the idea of the sun or the ball going into the goal ring. Now, these identifications come from, you know, the material on it, and it's not just a visual sort of similarity. There's actual, you know, meaningful connections in the symbolism and the philosophy behind it all. Next. Okay, here's the ball court at Azapa. Next. And next. On the west end of the ball court are these seating stones. Next. And if you sat on those seating stones, you'd look over this throne. Next. And you'd look down the lengthwise axis of the ball court over this other monument on the east end. So there's an alignment of the ball court towards a specific horizon to the southeast. Next. Next. There's the ball court, and we're on the west end. Underneath that green shed is the throne. Next. So it's lined up with the December solstice sunrise. Next. And when the sun rises, it illuminates the throne on the west end. Next. So if you're sitting on the throne, you would be observing the December solstice sun rising. Next. And that is the horizon over which the convergence happens. I guess, unfortunately, I'm going to have to sort of wrap it up here, although I had some other slides on the spiritual teachings. Unless, should I try to rip through it all? Yeah. All right. All right, go next. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Well, here I'm standing on a mound, and that was Takana volcano. There's Tajumulco volcano. So this is the place. This is the revelation. You know, this is the origin place of the 2012 revelation, the ball court at Azapa. It's very humble. There's no big temple pyramids, but it's like an archaeoastronomical site, like Stonehenge or something. You know, there's certain alignments, and all the carved monuments that are preserved for us in the ball court they encode a message for what the creators of the long count, the 2012 calendar, believed. And actually, what I've realized is it's not just some quaint provincial belief system. It actually plugs into profound spiritual teachings. Next. So here's the spiritual teaching. On the far end of the ball court is a carved monument that shows one of the hero twins standing over Seven Macaw. Seven Macaw is the egomaniacal ruler that appears at the end of the cycle, and he must be put into his proper place before the unity consciousness, one who can be restored. Next. There's the throne, showing the solar godhead being reborn from between the legs, which is a symbol of the sun converging with the dark rift. Next. So the spiritual teaching really occurs right here on the throne. And there's two other monuments right here, too. There's a stone ball and ring, which symbolizes the ball game. And then there's the serpent head, which had a little solar ball in its mouth. Next. The reading that I make of this is that, yes, it does encode the galactic alignment, which is happening over the distant horizon towards which it faces. But we also have three different things happening here. We have the serpent devouring the solar head, so there's this idea of devouring or transformation. And then the ball game means that we are indispensable participants in this whole process. And the throne, with the solar head being reborn from the legs, means birth and renewal. So this is it right here. You know, this you know, is the message that the people who created the 2012 calendar preserved for us. Next. And all this goes back to early research in the early 90s. Next. Next. This monument, Izapa Stela 11, encodes the alignment. It's like a statement. Next. There it is. All right, I got to wrap up here. Next. Next. This monument encodes the astronomy over Izapa. Next. And there's spiritual teachings in there. Next. I know, it's kind of like, all right, cosmological revolution, whatever. Next. All right, here's the nub of the spiritual teachings. There's this dynamic between Seven Macaw, the vain and false ruler that appears at the end of the cycle. He's egomaniacal. And then One Hunapu being reborn. It's this dynamic between the limited consciousness that's anchored to the ego and the unlimited full consciousness of us reclaiming our full potential, the unity consciousness that's represented by the it's like the divine self. Next. So I guess we'll end with this. Good thing to end with. So if you have more questions, you know, just to say that there's also, you know, I have an astrologer friend that says that on November 4th there's this opposition between Saturn and Uranus. And I think it's just striking that, you know, apart from the galactic alignment, which also relates to this whole dynamic between the old vanguard of self-serving egoism and the new change, you know, like restoring the unity consciousness, is also represented as a sort of a trigger point by this Saturn-Uranus opposition. So we got some, you know, amazing things happening. We're right down the road.
Tomorrow morning, Rick Levine is going to be speaking about.
Excellent. All right, Rick Levine is talking about this precise thing tomorrow. And just go one more. Another one. Okay, well, go a couple more real quick. I just want to get to this one. Another one. Spiritual teachings, fire ceremony, one more. The Maya Renaissance that's happening, one more. And one more. That's me praying that you'll buy my books. And one more. The final thought. So thank you very much.